Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you. Looking for a bold way to boost your business? Advertise with Silverline Comics, reaching readers across the U.S. and around the world. Affordable rates, passionate fans, and national and international exposure, all packed inside thrilling, action-packed comics. All ads must be PG-13, perfect for reaching all ages. Spots are limited. Grab your ad space today and become part of the adventure. Silverline Comics, where adventure lives and your brand thrives. Email us at silverlinepublishingllc@gmail.com for more information. And make mine Silverline.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Silverline Silver Sunday this July the 6th, after we have celebrated Independence Day. Happy Independence Day, everyone. I'm your host, I'm Roland Man, and I am joined by Mr. Lazy Boy himself, Mr. Tom Mason.
Hi, everybody. I still got all 10 fingers from 4th of July, so I consider that a success.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of those? Some
those
of those
X-rays?
Oh
yeah.
My gosh!
They look like Muppets that you ordered from Temu.
They do. Jose, if you're listening, I'm sorry, man. I'm getting you the link now. Jose is gonna join us tonight, but I forgot to send him the link, and now for some reason it doesn't want to. I've got the spinny thing on my page, so Jose, I'm trying to send you the link. And Tom and I are joined by that man in the mask guy himself, Mr. Mike W. Belcher.
Howdy, 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 everybody.
What's happening, Mike?
Nothing much. Hot. Just hot here.
It is hot. Hope y'all can. I turned a fan on me because it's so hot in here. I told BJ, I said, I got to figure something out. I have one of those. My daughter got me one of those little neck fans, that you can put on. But that thing's like, it does actually.
Because it looks like a shot collar from like an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, I keep mistaking it for a headset because it has a little, and the little fans. And I keep, no, this is not a headset. This is my, For some reason, it doesn't want me to send Jose the link. Let me try again. Try refreshing again. Jose's probably sitting out there on his lanai going, I don't want to restore my chat history. What?
I don't want to restore my chat history. That's like the worst message you could possibly get.
It's like, no, I just want you to send him the link. There it is. He goes, I need the link.
And how many times during a comic book chat do you hear the word lanai?
Right? Almost never.
Almost never. So.
What it sounds like is one of those Jack Kirby monster characters.
Well, fun
you go.
fact, I actually have a short script titled Lanai, but it is not about Jose's backyard room. We are joined by the slinger of inks himself, Mr. Jose Fuentes. What's up, Jose?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, the world's
Hello.
That
Did
is
you
a
hear me?
nice lanai.
Did you hear me talking about you earlier? He's frozen. Is he frozen?
Yes.
Well,
We are having. I got a pop-up message here.
It's been fun.
Yeah, right. We're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be a no. I don't. Just remove it then. How do I make this go away? Oh, look! Check this out. Hey, who's this stranger? Who's this stranger? We're joined also by sitting around doing nothing, Mr. Thomas Formani Jr., who we can't see because he's just sitting around doing nothing.
silent
What's up,
deadly.
He made it all the way from wherever it is he was.
Tom, he's probably still trying to get hooked up, so he doesn't even hear us.
Did I hear a parrot?
Tommy, you take the one cord, you put it in that one slot.
Turn it off, turn it on again, Tommy.
Right.
Bloodbot Comics says reposted the stream. Excellent, thank you, Bloodbot Comics. We appreciate that. We need that kind of support. So thank you. Madness Pops says, "Hey yo, what is up, Pops?" As always, we can count on Pops for giving us a hey yo. And by the way, he didn't post it here. I think he just stopped posting it. I'm not really sure. But if you got a show that is about geeky, nerdy, cool, fun stuff, reach out to Pops at the Madness Entertainment Group and say, "Hey, Pops, I got a show I want to bring to the masses every week." Pops will hook you up, and you too can be part of the Madness Entertainment Group. Some quick news. Jose will like this news, I think. Completely fulfilled, with except for the digital people, which I'm going to try to get you. Where's my right here? Completely fulfilled is. Oh, wait a minute. I meant to have this one on top. Sorry, Jose. Is our the Cat and Mouse Vipers #1. Those are, if you don't have them in your hands, which I know several of you do not yet, they are out of my hands and into the hands of the postal system. This, of course, is our limited edition foil version. And then, of course, there's the edition by Jose himself. And we got some words on there. I was swapping some messages with the Hyper Potato this week about words on the comics. And
Where does he fall?
What's that?
Where does he fall on that?
He falls that he thinks they all should have them. So, and then, of course, there's this one here by Mr. Peter Clinton, Thomas Formonti. And, of course, they're colored by Roberta. So these are speeding their way to you all. And we've got this one crowdfunding now. So
That's so awesome.
I hear a bird.
Yeah, it does sound like somebody's got a parrot.
I think Tommy must be outside. Tommy's on his bicycle. That's what he's doing.
That's it.
Oh, wait. No, that's Jose. Jose muted himself. He's got birds out in his lanai.
That sounds like a euphemism.
It's all right, Jose. Those aren't bad sounds, right? You can let the birds chirp. Just don't let them fly.
Or poop.
Yeah. Anyway, jump on over to www.silverlinecomicscrowdfunder.com and grab a copy of Rejects #2. And I just got a message tonight from the artist Rick Plata. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "I can't do originals, but I want to do some caricatures, digital caricatures. So we are going to be adding digital caricatures to the list of rewards for this campaign. So jump on over there, silverlinecomicscrowdfunder.com, and back it if you can, share it if you will."
Where does Mr. Plata come from? Where what kind of work has he done?
He is a Mexican artist who has done all kinds of political newspaper type of cartoons down there. Very much a Mad Magazine kind of artist. He's the kind of, his style is the kind that if you'd see it in Mad or Cracked, it would not surprise you at all. He's got a great cartoony style. that it fits just well with the rejects. Should I mention the other thing?
Well, he's doing the thing he's doing with me.
Yeah,
We can say that. I think I don't think we give any. Let's not give any details, but just say when he finishes rejects, he's got a thing on his desk that I wrote.
Yeah.
Nice.
So so we're super stoked about that, and I think based on my emails with Rick, I think he's pretty excited about it too. So I'm stoked. I think that will be a fun thing. So if you tuned in with us tonight, expecting to see Jimmy Palmiotti, I am sorry for the disappointment. Jimmy had some personal issues pop up that he could not, that he had to take care of, and we are totally supportive and on board with that. But he did say, hey, tell everyone I'm sorry, but we will reschedule and we will talk about this thing. Because Jimmy, as you guys know, Jimmy does a lot of crowdfunders, and he's got a lot that he wants to say about it. So, and we want to hear it. So he will. Tommy, can you hear us now? Tommy might not even realize he's hooked up.
He might have butt dialed us.
That's right. So we don't have a date yet. I told Jimmy he needs to take care of his personal things, and we'll touch base again later and find us another day. But we will get Jimmy on here, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff because he is a crowdfunding expert. He's one of the I would easily put Jimmy in one of the top 5 crowdfunders as far as experts go. And so we would love to hear what his take on all the crowdfunding issues today are.
He also crowdfunds interesting stuff, which is not you, because you get Jimmy stuff and it's not like you'd say, well, Marvel and DC are never going to publish this.
Right.
But he did. Yeah. And he made it work.
Yeah.
And that's what fascinates me, because it's not, it's quality stuff, but it's not Marvel and DC stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is, he's got the paper films, right. I think is his brand. And so I think a lot of it, they envision, because, Jimmy's got, and I don't know all of them, but Because Jimmy knows everybody. But he's got a lot of those Hollywood contacts that I think Jose. Yeah. Jimmy does know everybody, Jose.
I mean, I don't doubt that, but I'm saying that about you. You know everybody.
But I envision a lot of what Jimmy and his crew do. They intend a life beyond the comic books. I think that's kind of what they're looking at.
No harm in that.
No. But I think they aggressively pursue that. So
right.
So anyway, we'll keep you guys posted and let you know about Jimmy and when he is going to reschedule. And we wish he and his well. Any other news before we get into tonight's topic as we're all sitting down?
Well, this week was pretty busy in comic news. I mean, we had a lot going on, and talking about crowdfunding, they're talking about being an alternative to the distribution system, which isn't getting any better.
No, it's not.
You had Dynamite come out this week saying that Diamond ended up owing them over $1 million, and that they're not going to be able to make their payroll, and their operation is in jeopardy. And I just read a few minutes ago, Image is laying people off because of the bankruptcy. Yeah, the main office of Image they're having to, of course, where they start. They start with what they feel like the non-essentials,
right?
The marketing.
Yeah,
right. And so that's who they started with. But it's just the beginning. It's going to. If no one really, think about if Diamond left owing Dynamite that much money, in addition to their, they've got their inventory.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, because the cost of the inventory they're holding is different from how much they're actually owed.
Exactly.
Inventory is unsold product that just sits there, but they've actually sold product and owed Dynamite a crap ton of money.
Yeah, because you have a lot of publishers that have inventory sitting at Diamond, and Diamond's already told people, we're going to sell this and we're not going to give any of it to you. We'll use it to liquidate and fund who we owe to. And the publishers are going to be the last ones on that list.
Right.
And, I know that there's there are employees at Diamond who are not responsible for that, who are kind of stuck in the middle. You know,
Yeah.
I get that. You know, as an editor, I was never responsible for cutting the checks, you know? So if they ever didn't go, and we never had that problem at Malibu, right? But if there was ever one that was late, they would call me, but it's not like I would go write the check. I would have to say something to somebody else.
Right.
Now, if accounting put me off, I'd run over to Tom or Chris Ohm or Dave and say, hey, you know,
accounting put me off.
Accounting sloughed me off, and we got to pay this guy. And then they would get involved, and then things would happen, right? So I get totally that at Diamond there are people in that kind of middle position that they're hearing it, but they have no authority other than to, hey, these guys are complaining. Can you pay them, please? Right.
But you know, I know to a creator, you know, that $2,000 check is a lifeline.
It is.
It's everything. But when you get to the point where it's $500,000, you're just not going to get a check.
No.
There's not enough money in Diamond right now for them to be able to say, you know, we've got billionaires to pay. We can't pay Dynamite.
Yeah. Well, and you know, and of course that makes me particularly worried about us because we don't have, you know, they still owe us money, not near that amount, but our little amount greatly affects us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it affects us in huge ways that it's hard to say. You know, I'm going to have to send myself a pink slip.
You're going to lay yourself off.
I'm going to lay myself off. Yeah. No, but for us, what it affects, it actually affects, you know, our printing and our shipping. It's like we can't print books without money. And I got a message from Diamond, I want to say Thursday or Friday, which I have not responded to because, you know, I have found that in my age that sometimes when I want to say snarky stuff, it's best to let the email sit.
I'm not there yet, Roland.
Yeah. So, you know, I've just let it. But what they're doing is they're asking for solicitation copy for the next catalog. But I'm sitting there thinking, look, I've sent you guys other things, and you owe me money for them. If you send me the money, I'm happy to keep doing this, regardless of what other problems you may have. As long as you're paying me for the stuff that you know, the small number of books that are going out to you. As long as you keep, you know, paying for those, I can keep sending you books. I don't have a problem with that. But I can't keep sending you content and not getting any money.
Yeah.
I can't afford that. So.
Also, I think I read a couple of days ago that Fantagraphics is organizing with a bunch of I don't think Fantagraphics is doing the organizing, but they're joining a bunch of publishers who are getting ready to take like a group action.
Oh, really?
To get some of their inventory back from Diamond, and before the Diamond sells it off.
See, I don't know how the inventory thing happened. I was never aware of that. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we came along later in the picture, but they never, to my knowledge, they never ordered any inventory, or we never sent them anything for free as inventory.
I think it's part of, you know, whatever deal you make, and it's mostly graphic novels and trades.
Okay.
Because I don't think anybody wants to store like 1 million comics.
No.
But trades, you know, once if you print locally and you ship to Diamond and then you ship extra to Diamond to hold for reorders, a lot of trades are evergreens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
that's why we're trying to get there.
Right. And so you don't want to have, you know, Diamond has like a jillion Watchmen copies and a jillion Dark Knight Returns copies and a jillion Sandman graphic novels. God bless them. And you know, whatever else they carry, so that retailers can say, oh, I need, you know, 10 copies of Dark Knight Returns for this thing.
Right.
And they can go through Diamond directly instead of having to work around to the publisher. Or if the publisher says, hey, Diamond, I need to get, you know, X of these things out to the book trade, Diamond will do that for them. And so it just uses Diamond as a storage facility for reorders and backstock.
Yeah.
If you have, but I don't think every publisher gets to do that. I think it's the big guys. The big guys who have trades and who have some muscle.
Yeah.
Not that that's done them any good now.
No.
Right? Yeah. And they stand to lose quite a bit.
Right.
Brad Arney says, "Evening, fellas. What's up, Brad? Thanks
Hey,
for joining
Brad.
us and hanging out with us."
We're picking apart our favorite industry, Brad.
Yeah.
That's right.
Brad's a man, the mass supporter. So
Oh, excellent.
happy to see
Excellent.
Brad.
Well, that means Brad's a man who has very good taste. And plus he's tuning in to see us, right?
So where do you guys think it's going?
You know, I noticed that lunar seems to be opening up a little bit because Antarctic. Ben said that on the other day that lunar picked him up.
Yes.
And he couldn't get them to answer anything.
No. Yeah.
And so it looks like maybe Lunar's starting to look around and say, hey, maybe we need to start taking advantage of the situation before somebody else does.
There's a couple of things that, you can maximize out with the employees that you have before you take on more stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got to find that balance of, well, how many more people can I afford to hire versus how many more publishers can I take?
Yeah.
And how much handholding are they going to need? And so you got to figure out, do I need 3 full-time employees? Do I need a full-time employee and 2 part-time employees? Do I need who's going to handle the Antarctic Press account or whoever? And so it becomes that delicate balance of, that plus who's going to answer the phones.
Right. Yeah. Because I kind of thought a little bit of that the same thoughts is that, well, Lunar might eventually take some, but what's happened is they're inundated with 100 small press publishers like us that says, hey, Diamond, the ship is sinking, help. And Lunar's like, we got no room on the boat, fellas.
Yeah, it's like, because you can imagine that nobody, people aren't thinking about Lunar because I got Diamond. I don't need to worry.
Right.
And then Diamond suddenly says, hey, guys, we're out of it. And then it's like 100 trick-or-treaters showing up at your house.
Right. You're like, we just ran out of candy.
Right. I got 5 Snickers.
Hey, Tommy.
What's up, Tommy?
I got a comment to make.
Oh, make it.
On the Diamond thing. So I was at a shop over the last week a couple times, and he's in a group chat with a bunch of other shops, and because of what Diamond's doing, unless something's changed over the last couple of days, because what Diamond's doing about all the inventory and then taking the money to pay off other bills and all, or not Diamond, but the other company that bought Diamond. There's a lot of those comic shops aren't even going to go through Diamond. They're cutting Diamond off.
Really?
The shops are not going to order anything else from Diamond anymore. They're like, if they're going to over the the creators and the businesses, the comic, us comic folks and the publishers and stuff, they're just not going to. They still want those books. They're just going to try to find other ways to get them, and they're not going to order from Diamond.
Yeah. Did he talk about any what were his alternatives? Like, I'm not going to go through Diamond.
He said that almost everything that he was getting from Diamond, he can get elsewhere.
Yeah.
So so they're just going to get it. They're just going to cut Diamond off and get it from elsewhere. Actually, what started the conversation was we were going through this big list of things, inventory stuff. I was going through some Christmas present stuff, looking at what can I order, and we were going through the stuff, and he goes, "Yeah, I can order all this stuff for you, but they're not going to get paid for it."
Yeah.
Well, because
I'm like,
that's the kind of banding together that I like to see, because the thing about comics, which I think is also true in almost every other industry, is there's an ecosystem. Of there's creators, there's publishers, there's printers, there's distribution, there's the comic shops. Yeah. There's the back issue people. There's the conventions, and we're all sort of connected. And so if there's a chunk of that falls apart, the ecosystem gets screwed up. And and so we're all just sort of sitting here going, well, somebody better fix the ecosystem,
right? Because it affects everybody, and And you don't want to, and that's why, I used to hear before all this kind of stuff happened, I would hear people say negative things about Diamond, and I would just say, you know what? I never said anything negative about Diamond, because I'm like, you know what? We need Diamond. Diamond was it. Diamond was it. That was the only. So we need them, right? If I want to get my books to comic shops, I have to go through Diamond in order to get them to get there.
Yeah, but we keep saying Diamond. It's not Diamond anymore. This is somebody else that's like a corporate takeover kind of thing. That's doing what
forgotten their name. What is their name?
It's Ad Populum, I think. Is that?
Yeah. Scott my buddy kept referring to it as the other
You
name,
can
and I
name
kept
him.
saying
Hey,
Diamond. And he goes,
Yeah, it's okay
Yeah,
unless you don't want to. It's okay to call him by name. Give
well,
him
I
some
didn't.
promotion.
No, I didn't want to. I didn't know if he wanted me to talk.
Oh,
Stuff that was going on.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, things that he was telling me.
Well,
But
I think I think we'd be better served with a regional approach.
I would love that, but
I think one company trying to oversee everything. I mean, look at Lunar. It's like Tom said, they had to see where they were before they started taking anybody else. But in the short term, you got to think Lunar's only been around for 4 or 5 years, and all of a sudden now they're the de facto big dog because they've got DC and Dark
I'll be
Horse.
back in a second.
Right.
Okay.
But DC switched over to Universal for comics.
They sure
Oh,
did.
really? I didn't catch that.
That was that was like this past week or so, wasn't it?
That was also this week. Yeah.
Whoa, I missed that one.
Yeah.
I mean, Lunar was their boy. I mean, they're the ones that came to their, they discount comic service started Lunar for everything for DC.
Yeah.
I mean, they came out of nowhere to be a distributor.
But the interesting is that DC, and I can't say if this is true or not, but DC has always been a company that sort of looks out for DC and where they're going to get the most attention paid directly to them.
Oh yeah.
And so it makes sense. I'm not saying this in a critical way. I'm just saying it makes sense for them to go to Universal where they can be the big dog in the pond.
Right.
If I can mix metaphors.
Wow. That's a step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I have no control over any of this and I have no money to make it happen, but regional distributors used to be how it worked.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
No, you're right.
And it worked for years.
I was going to say, Tom, let me ask you a question because you were, in the.
You had to deal with that, right?
Yeah, you were in the cogs of the machine at Malibu when all this was happening. Did have 13 different distributors? Did that work?
It worked until everybody started going out of business. So, because the thing is, it worked for a couple of things. One is because comics don't sell the same everywhere.
Right.
And some places are great, like in the New England area, and some books do well in the South, and some books do well in the West Coast, and some books do well in the Pacific Northwest, and some books do better in the Midwest. And I think having regional distributors gave you access to some of that data as to where your buyers are. And I think, and also you got, like, I would rather have a personal relationship with 10 distributors regionally than I would with one big person
that doesn't know your shop. Yeah.
That had all my eggs.
Yeah. Well, all right, Tom, what's the chances you think something like this can happen? What's the real possibility that something like that might happen again? Do you think we're on the verge of it, or?
Well, so if you accept that the current system is not going to continue, because it doesn't sound like New Diamond is going to be Old Diamond.
No,
it doesn't seem like it.
And so you have to write them off, and you have to assume that Lunar can't take everybody,
right?
But people still want to make comics.
Yep.
And the comic book making industry is not going to suddenly dry up because
the shops will stay open.
As we know, people who want to make comics will make comics.
Yep.
And so
once it's in your blood, you can't stop. Like breathing, right?
Right. You might not start a massive company. You might just do your one comic, but there's nothing wrong with that either.
Nope.
And I think I forget how the regional stores started up at the start of the direct market, but I thought they grew out of stores and out of necessity.
Yeah.
And I think you could see that happen again, but are there enough? But back then, Marvel and DC were part of the regional distribution system.
Yeah.
Right. And are there enough publishers? Is there enough money to make regional distribution work, given the amount of smaller publishers that are available?
Yeah. And that's kind of my big question about the whole thing. I would love to see it happen to begin with, but that's kind of my big question about a kind of a regional distribution thing, because my question comes up. Okay, well, part of why Diamond works for somebody like Silverline is because it has that national blanket, right?
Right.
So 5 people can order it from California. 100 people can order it from Chicago. 500 people can order it from New Orleans because Cat and Mouse is set in New Orleans, and that works. But if we go regional, is it going to be worth the West Coast guy ordering his 10 copies from us? Right. Or is he just going to say, it's just 10. I'm not going to order it.
I think that's the risk reward, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, even if the shop ordered it, I believe you would think. Is that what you're saying? The shop ordered 10, and then that West Coast guy saying, "I'm not going to order 10 from those guys."
Yeah,
I think they would. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. I think they would too.
Well, I mean, maybe I don't know, but you got to remember. So
there's even money on the table right now. There's no money on the table, so why would they?
What is it though? If you're a distributor, because you got to remember, a distributor deals in nickels and dimes. Essentially, they get very.
They already got a box going to the store. If they've already shipping something to that store, why not throw those 10 books in?
That's the advantage, right? If they've already got a box going to the store, they can order your 10 copies and make their 50 cents off of it, right?
Right.
But will they?
Well, the thing is that again, I don't know how it worked everywhere, but in many of the regional distribution centers, you could drive if you were a retailer, you would drive to the center and pick up the books.
Yeah, no, I remember. Well, that's why, of course, Tommy can't hear us now, but we used to go down to the Capital City warehouse down in New Orleans.
Yeah,
I loved doing that. That was fantastic. Those guys knew us; they knew us by name, and
I liked it because the Diamond Warehouse I forget who the distributor was down there, but they had a warehouse in Los Angeles, and you could go there on the night before to pick up the comics, and you would see everybody.
Yeah.
Like, there'd be 20, 30 comic book guys all in the warehouse, and you could hang out and socialize. And it's frantic because everyone's packing boxes and picking up stuff and checking invoices and, I'm missing this and I need that, whatever. But you're still hanging out with 20, 30 comic book people.
Right. Yeah.
And you can, to me, that's essential stuff.
Oh, I think so too. And if you think about it, it saved the distributors a little bit of time and effort and energy for shipping. They didn't have to worry about all that. All right. The retailer got their copies, threw them in the back of their truck, and drove home.
Yeah. And then
Jose,
set them up for the next day.
You looked inquisitive, Jose. What's your question?
A little bit.
We're talking about digital time.
Right. Well, Tom, what did you mean by when you said you were able to get together with comic book people? Are you talking like retailers specifically, or like?
Yeah, you could go down. You could go down on, because I was technically a publisher, not a retailer, and so you could go down on the night that the evening that the comics were distributed to the retailers, and you could hang out, and you could meet the other retailers and talk to them, it'd be like a huge. I mean, you're kind of a nuisance because I'm not there to pick up I'm not there to pick up comics. I'm not there to do anything. But many times the distributor would have events at the warehouse that were not on pickup day, and you could hang out and like whatever the slow day is for comics. I think it's Monday is probably the slowest day, but most stores don't even open on Monday. But they would have an event at the warehouse, and you could go down there, and in those days it's pizza and soda, and you just sit around and talk about comics and why you hate certain things and why because
if there's a warehouse of books, they could go through and pick out some stuff. And
a lot of this was pre-internet, so it was a good gossipy place. Hey, did you guys hear what Marvel's doing? Or hey, did you hear that this character?
That's a very valid point, because there was no internet and you didn't know anything. Like you between the weeks, if you didn't have like a phone system set up with your friends, between issues of CBG or whatever,
right?
you wouldn't hear anything.
That internet has just ruined everything.
Right, well, internet. I don't know how it was for you guys, but whenever I would go someplace and I would see other comic book people, I'd be like, "Ooh, comic book people!"
Right?
I'm heading over there.
What ink are you using? What ink are you? What kind of pencils? What kind of pencils?
Right? Yeah.
Tell me something new. Tell me something new.
So
I've been getting my art supplies from this store.
These Monday events and whatnot, are we to expect that from Tom Mason Regional Distribution? Like next year? Is that what's going to happen?
Yes. If I was a regional distributor, I would do that because one, I like hanging out with people.
Yeah.
And I think the industry is strong. Like, I think the industry is stronger where, okay, let's say it's 5 of us Well, Mike's got an idea about something that works for him. Roland's got an idea about something that works for him that's different from Mike. Tommy's got something that I never heard of before, but he swears by it. And you come in with another idea that's like, oh, why don't we take Roland's idea and mix it with Mike's and do this? And so I think,
or to be like, Roland, how are you selling that one weird book that just not selling? And you go, well, if I put it over on this side of the table, it seems to sell, or it's rack.
Yeah. Because I will tell you a funny story that almost goes with this, is that I wouldn't say I was friends, but I knew Bill Leibowitz, who ran Golden Apple in Los Angeles on Melrose Avenue. And there was a book that Chris Alm and I loved that Malibu published, and Bill Leibowitz would never carry it. He would never order it. And so I went in, and in a very nice way, a social way, I confronted him basically and said, "What the hell's wrong with you? This book sells everywhere except you don't order it. Why not?" And he says, "Nah, I don't like it. I don't think it'll sell." And then I said, "Well, I'll make you a deal, because everything's non-returnable."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'll bring you next time I'm in next weekend. I'll bring in 20 copies of the book, of various issues of the book, and I'll take back 20 copies of Malibu books that aren't selling."
Oh yeah.
It'll be an even for even swap. You've already paid for these. I'll give you these. It's no skin off my nose. We'll just do it. Will you do that? And he basically said, "Knock yourself out." So I come in, I take the books. This is a long process. I mean, this is like a month-long process. I put the books out, and the next time he comes in, he said, "Can I get more of those books?" I sold it.
There you go.
So I said, "Yeah, I'll bring you more, but now you got to order it."
Right, now you got to pay for them.
Right, because now we're done. The swap is over, and I think and I tell that story to other people, but that's the kind of information that other people don't have.
Yeah.
And so that's the benefit of when comic book people get together.
Yes. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, of course, you guys know I was riding a high last week from Heroes Con. And this is a part of why I like the conventions as well, because you get something not just like that, but you get some kind of
you get a buzz going.
You get a buzz going from it. Yeah.
I thought it was because you like the convention pizza, pepperoni pizza that they've always got.
The nachos.
The nachos, the convention nachos.
No,
well, you're always eating them all the time. Oh, BJ shouldn't know about
convention nachos.
So what Tommy's referring to is that I always say I cannot believe convention serves pizza at a comic book convention.
Yep. I've heard you say that.
Right? Because
I've never eaten a pizza behind the table.
And then they're going, let me flip through your pages with my pizza hands. I don't get
it. Well, they're greasy, so you can flip them faster.
Right? But honestly, convention pizza is like gas station nachos. Really, it's not. Nobody should be eating.
Not a real thing.
Not a real thing.
That's what the cup holders for, to put the chips and the cheese in.
It's like, tell me, we're going out to get burritos or something, but I'm going to take you to a gas station. It's like, no,
right?
No. It's just
So,
except there's down from the going back to my week here where it was in Biloxi, there is a gas station but now Biloxi's really close to New Orleans, right? It's the Gulf Coast area there. So there's all kind of po' boy places everywhere over there. There is the best place in the gas station that's right down the shop from. It's like every time we go, it's like we call it the gas station po' boys. It is the crappiest gas station. Golly, they make the best po' boys that you get. They're just as good as anything I've gotten out of New Orleans. I don't know. Anyway,
so we've got Universal, which is to my knowledge just a Canadian distributor.
It's Canadian,
right?
Yeah.
Yes, but they're based in Canada, but that doesn't mean they're limited to Canada.
Well, so no, but if DC is going to Universal, that means they're going to be shipping hundreds of thousands of books down to the U.S. So are they going to be looking for new U.S. accounts as well?
Unless DC prints, I don't think DC prints in Canada. DC might print in the.
I'm not sure if they use what used to be called. Remember, everybody was using the Quebecor.
Well, that's Marquee now, right?
Yeah, but who are people using now? Are they still using?
I think there's a lot more presses in the country now.
In Canada or U.S.?
U.S. Because if you look at like Marvel books, there's Reynolds or something Reynolds. I'm not familiar with them, but they're in different locations. They actually have the locations where the comic was printed at, and they were, in the States. I was kind of surprised by that.
Huh.
What you can't get is newsprint comics.
No.
Because the newsprint presses are, dried up.
Yeah, well, they're all in China now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, newsprint's not going to bring down the cost of your comic anyway. So
no. There's that opinion is kind of what's that company that does it? There's an indie company that
Alterna.
Really being
Alterna.
Here's the thing though about that. And sorry, I sidetracked us. Is that as a comic book creator, I don't want my comic printed on the worst paper possible.
Right.
It's like I don't.
Well, you kind of probably remember we used to talk about it. Is that when you were printing your comic, you had to, and of course, Jose probably doesn't remember this well enough, but Tommy I know did. You couldn't ink those really fine lines because it's just going to blob out on the newsprint anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you have to learn as an inker. You had to learn what you could and couldn't do with the detailed line. Well, now those lines you can print and they'll be crisp and clear.
Pretty crisp, yeah.
Because the thing is, we'd get phone calls all the time from inkers and artists who would say, "Where's my line? What happened?" It's like, dude, it's comic books.
It's that's right. It's we're printing on toilet paper. What do you want?
Right, we're not.
Right.
These aren't
sucked up by the paper. Yeah.
We know the art is good. We know everybody's putting in their best efforts. However, we're printing them on the worst possible paper that we can. You're going to lose lines.
Yeah. Hey, Tommy, I'm digging the paper change. Did you guys change paper? Seemed like the last comic you guys printed for me had a little more of a gloss to it, opposed to the texture the other ones have had. Must have been the books.
Maybe we calibrated for your book.
I don't know. I just the paper felt better. I mean,
it's the now we order the same paper all the time. What they send us may not be exactly the same every time.
A different tree.
So, but we haven't changed the paper.
Yeah,
They switched from quality assurance agent 14 to quality assurance agent 31.
That's right. Yes. What's the little sticker on the back of
it? That makes all the difference.
That's right.
Tank Ferret says, "Ahoy, all you sagacious scalawags!"
Hey, Tank Ferret's another great name, just like Hyper Potato.
It sure is.
I wish I'd thought of that.
I know Tank Ferret has a wrenchy beside him, so I don't know who he is. But welcome, Tank Ferret. We're glad you joined us to chime in. You and anybody else who got there who have opinions on this. We mentioned very briefly. There is another distributor who's just popped up. So I would say we still have no idea what happen, but it's a Filbo distribution, which some people are saying they're going to try to take the place of Diamond. You guys know anything about that? Heard anything about that? I know that one or two comic shops down here have never even heard of them. So.
No, it's tough because you got to get you got to line up. But I mean, distribution isn't about publishers; it's about stores.
Yes,
and so you got to line up a bunch of stores who are willing to look at your catalog and pay attention to the deadline and order it, and figure out what you're doing that's different or better than other people.
Well, and in other terms, right? It's about I had the word. It's not about suppliers. It's about the consumers, right? The retail shops.
Right.
Yeah.
Because distribution has always controlled comics.
Yeah.
Because when Marvel was starting up, they used DC's distributor, and Marvel was kept to, I think it was 8 titles.
Yeah.
And that's why you had Tales of Suspense and Tales to Astonish, because Marvel could have more stories in the books that they were allowed to. And then as soon as Marvel got their own distribution, suddenly, bam, Captain America's got his own book. Iron Man #1 is out. Submariner #1 is out. And Marvel starts to, actually become an expansive publisher. And then they both team up and they destroy, Tower Comics and Skywald Comics and Atlas Seaboard and some of those, they kept them off the newsstands. And so distribution is the thing that makes or breaks comics.
Yeah. Even today, and
Even
you know,
today.
and I tell students in my class, and you guys know this, we are currently, unless any of us, which I don't think is the case, are your prognosticators, we are in a pivotal moment in comic book history in which there's something happening that we don't know what it's gonna look like when we come out on the other side. There's something happening here.
Yeah.
What should have happened is a bunch of the Diamond employees that left, the old Diamond employees left. They should have gotten, and I know this is easy to say and almost impossible to do, they should have gotten venture capital money and started up their own Diamond.
Yes.
With their institutional knowledge and the client list that they have. However, old Diamond doesn't have a track record of success or profit, so it's hard to sort of get venture capital to pull that off.
Well, let me ask you a question. What about some of the distributors that used to be around back in the day? Right. So we know that Capital was like Milton Greep and
John Davis.
Yeah.
And Tom Fassbender and Wayne Markley.
So I know that Greep has that ICV2. Yeah.
Don't they have a distribution?
They do.
A small one, a very odd one.
It is an odd one. But
it's like a hippie boutique. Like you go to a beach resort that sells comics, and there's a handful that are selected by the shop owner who's wearing like a psychedelic shirt and a wreath around his head. And that's
You just
destroyed any relationship I have with capitalism.
There you go.
They don't exist anymore. So, right. but I guess my question would be, well, what about them? Because we could go through the list. There was the Friendly Franks. There was Heroes Unlimited. There was Comics Hawaii. What do I don't remember any of the names. I remember the names of those companies, but I don't remember the names of any of the people associated with those organizations. So
the sadness is that many of those people are dead.
Oh, that is sad news. Yeah,
Milton's not dead, obviously, but many of the people who ran those other distribution companies in the 80s and the 90s, they passed.
Yeah,
because they were middle-aged back then,
right?
So. And no one's going to get, and if they're not passed, no one's going to get like an 82-year-old guy out of retirement and say, "Hey, listen, you know what you should do? I got two words for you."
So what we need is we need somebody in the 30 to 40-year-old. We need somebody's in the 30 to 40-year-old demographic that says, "Hey, I'm going to start me a comic distribution chain."
But where do you get? I mean, most everybody maybe this is different for other people, but most of the people I meet want to be creators.
Yeah.
Not many people go, you know what I want to do? I want to be a comic book businessman.
I want to be the middleman.
Right. You know what? I want to buy books from you, and then I want to sell them to this person.
Right. Tommy, you got to go?
I do need to go. I do need to go. I just literally drove in, set my laptop up, wanted to say hi to you guys. And everybody wants
to. Glad you popped on. We miss you.
We'll see you next week then.
We'll be talking about you here in a few minutes.
No, you won't. Bye.
I can't believe what Tommy said.
But
yeah,
go ahead, Mike.
But comics are in this situation. It's like the music industry. The music industry had Napster and digital and everything kind of hit it in the 2000s. You had so many record stores, and now there are record stores, but they're kind of boutique-y. They're specialty. They're not. But I read something that LPs were the most selling of anything in 2024.
Yeah,
so there are ways of getting things back out there into the populace, and the comic stores are still standing. We just have to figure out how to get comics and material to them, where comics are the star again. Because unfortunately, a lot of those comic stores aren't selling comics as the main event anymore.
No,
they're selling merchandise and everything else they can, and back issues, not new comics, but the slabs and collectibles, and so we've got to figure out how we put comics back front and center.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
There's no magic way of doing it.
What'd you say, Jose?
Mike and I go on road trips, start dropping off Silverline comics everywhere. I got you.
There we go.
But you know, there were
the Silverline tour. Yeah, coming
That would
to
be great.
you. Yeah.
there were. I mean, that's not. I mean, it sounds goofy, but that's been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were. I forget who did it, but back in the 80s, there was one publisher that took their creators on a road trip, basically from convention to convention. And then DC used to have a bookmobile back in the 70s, where it would drive around the Connecticut, New York, New Jersey area, and set up once a week as like a pop-up store.
Yeah. Matt Wagner did the Mage tour in the 80s. You know, he went across the country in an old beat-up van selling Mage.
That might be who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's because that becomes an event separate from just buying comics.
Yeah.
Let's go see the crazy person driving across country.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Tank Ferret says, I was once a normal ferret thrown into a particle accelerator by scientists, then bitten by a radioactive tank. Now I'm your friendly neighborhood force multiplier. Okay, then.
There we go.
I would buy that comic. That's really well thought out.
Yes.
Anybody uses force multipliers, okay by me.
Oh yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where we're headed. Here we go. Tank Ferret says, ash cans, not that fancy stuff they try to peddle as such. I'm talking super cheap, quarter-sized, single staple, and shoved in a $1 store envelope with a stamp and a label. So, Tank Ferret, are you suggesting they're mailed when you say stamp and a label? I did a whole bunch of ash cans at one point in time. Do I still have?
We used to do them in Malibu every time we blinked.
Yep. And that's kind of where part of why I was doing some of them is because Malibu did them so well.
And you could do them at the Kinko's.
Yes, you could. I have to get
My first ash can was done at a Kinko's.
Who didn't? Yeah.
I know people whose first comics were Kinko's.
Yeah.
Kinko's had a machine that did 11 by 17 folded in half to 8.5 by 11, and then they also could do it 8.5 by 11 folded down to 8.5 by 5.5.
Yeah.
So you could,
right.
And put the staple
First
in the
two times you go and do it, you print them wrong.
Also because you got to train. In those days, you had to train the employee.
Yes.
And you had to learn from your mistakes as well. But now, and certainly in big city places that have a copy center like that, they've got people who've made zines before. So
I'm telling you, the Staples people here, no offense to the Staples people working, but they don't know resolution on their own copy machines. Like, listen, I'll go back there and I'll do it myself. Just let me do it, because you guys are like, oh, it doesn't go any higher than 300%. It sure does.
It sure does.
Look, because I have the internet, right? I can look that up.
Well, I thought I might have.
Ash cans and copies are really what helps sell books. Nowadays, retailers have PDFs. They're getting like 30, 40 PDFs a week. Right. And it's not the same. You can't keep up with them. I can't imagine. I mean, the PDF is a great thing to get in the email but if you're getting 40 and you're trying to figure out what are you going to buy, what are you going to try out? I mean, it's digital. It's not. I mean, at least with an ash can or a paper copy that was sitting in front of you, you could keep track of it. If most of the time my email, unless it's urgent, I'm missing it. And so I don't see how half these retailers can even figure out what they could buy, because again, without the physical copies to help. I mean, if I had 7 books in front of my table, I could figure out what's going on. I could go through them and read them at my leisure. Well, but I'm looking at my email and there's like 40 things. It's like, I can't do all that.
And also in defense of the retail community, the retail store is basically just one guy and maybe a second person and maybe a part-time person on busy days. And that's it. And that's to have them blow through all the information that's coming at them. It's just white noise at a certain point where you're going to get tuned out.
Yeah, and it runs together. There's a lot of it that looks kind of the same. You don't really you can't differentiate, because a lot of the covers are really, they're not representation of the stories anymore. They're to be put behind plastic and slabs.
Yep. Right.
And so everything kind of just looks like the same to me. And like I said, I'm not downing that. I mean, to each their own and whatever. But if you're a person trying to figure out what are you going to purchase for your store, a lot of that stuff runs together, and you don't have anything that's kind of helping your brain separate that. And like I said, that's the loss of a paper sample. I mean, it's expensive to do, but at the same token, I think at least it gives a retailer a fair chance of what they're going to buy.
Well, also, I think people get their PDF and they send it to a retailer, and it's like, well, I'm done.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, that's like if you're doing that, that's step one.
Yeah.
And so, and that might even be step -1. You got to get to step 0 and step 1 and work your way up, because you're just doing what everybody else is doing. You're not rising above the noise and making yourself stand out.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure out how to sell your book. You got to figure out, in distribution by yourself, you've got to figure out how to sell your book, let alone to the retailer. And of course, with Diamond could turn your book down. I mean, you're not always, it was not always a guaranteed thing that Diamond was going to carry your book.
Yeah. I think my friend Paul, Roland knows him, Paul O'Connor.
Yeah.
He has a saying about every product, which is, what is this problem solving for the audience? And why does this exist? Is it just a superhero knockoff? Then that's your pitch. But if it's something different, that could solve the problem for a reader.
Yeah.
You can't tell by me holding them up, but these are the ash cans that I had done before. Right. See, this is the regular comic.
Yeah, but yours aren't cheap and dirty though.
Well, I mean, so this one is.
This one is. That's the one that I like.
Yeah, this one is literally the cover on
cardstock.
Cardstock, yeah, thank you. And not even quite cardstock, but all the interior is just on photocopy paper, right?
Right. Cardstock's expensive.
Yeah, but it was just this. I did have 2 staples, right? He said 1 staple, but I did have 2 staples,
right?
But that's that. Now the other stuff that I did, it was still just I had color on one side, and this is still just 8.5 by 11 typing paper, copy paper. So
to me,
fold it in half.
To me, that one looks too much like it could be the real comic.
This,
whereas the photocopy one is definitely like, this is the work in progress. This is not.
Yeah.
And so I much prefer the Kinko's one.
Well, so let me ask you a question. Is it because this one is on yellow paper and this one is in color on white paper?
No, if I looked at the one on the yellow paper, that would say to me, oh, this is the preview. This is my ash can. This is this is supposed to look this way. And then the other one that's in color or has color parts of it, I would open it up and say, well, looks kind of flimsy for a comic. It's too close to an actual comic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. But
I could be wrong. I mean, that's just me.
Yeah.
There could be.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my friend Nick from Pickle Press, one of my favorite things is almost every year, because he does several different conventions, and almost every year he'll send me a package. It's got a couple books here and there, but it's always got all the ash cans and stuff that he picked up at conventions for the year. He'll send them to me. So I have like a stack of ash cans over by my desk.
You've got some more coming to you.
That's awesome.
You got some more.
Yeah. Those are easy to make, right? Those are literally just make photocopies and I even bought to do those. I even bought one of those longer staplers, so I could just lay the paper in there and staple it and then fold it.
Well, to me, it's like a sample pack at Costco where you go to the end of the aisle and they give you a bite of a cookie or whatever.
Yeah,
that's what an ash can sort of feels like to me. It's like it's a taste, and so it should look kind of like the comic, but it really should look like a zine. It should look like I'm getting it on the ground floor of like, these are secret documents that I'm given before the real thing comes out.
Yeah. These were all $1. So I wonder what I'd have to charge for them today if you did that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we used to work for a big company, so we gave them away.
Well, I know that.
That was, but you can't do that anymore.
I don't think I can afford to do that. Yeah.
I don't think Marvel and DC would allow that either. So, but it's just.
Yeah.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah. The good old days when there was money to be had.
Well, that's when publishers had money and distributors had money. And remember, we used to go. not to get too reminiscent, but we used to go to a lot of parties that were sponsored by people who had a lot of money, and you could go. It was there'd be more parties in the evening at San Diego Comic-Con than you had time to go to.
Yes. Yeah.
And because people had money and they were spending it.
Well, sometimes, people, they probably ask you as well, Tom, what's one of the things you miss, from the Malibu days? I said, my expense account.
Because there's two parts of that. One is I liked getting together with like 5 or 6 people and taking them out to dinner. And not just because I had an expense account, but because it's like, it was
a cool thing to do. It was a cool thing to be able to do.
Right. Yeah. Because I grew up in a small town where people my dad didn't have an expense account. My dad worked as a teacher. And so to have an expense account for a convention where it's just like, come on, I'm taking you out to dinner.
Right.
You can get like half dozen people, and they're people that you want to hang out with, but they weren't necessarily friends.
Right. But if you were buying them dinner, they'd go with you.
Right.
We would totally be friends if you bought me dinner, Tom.
Oh yeah.
Also, I really loved it when somebody would ask me to dinner.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, hey, because Wayne Markley took me to dinner one time on Capital City's dime, and it's like that's how I ended up having dinner with Jeff Smith, because Jeff Smith was part of the group. It's like, okay, I'm clearly the 6th man.
Right.
Like, it's like we need a 6th person. Who are we going to get? Well, let's get Tom's here. Let's get him. But
there's Tom.
There's that. That's how I ended up having dinner with fairly famous, well-known people, just because I happened to be standing around when the guy with the credit card said, "Hey, we're going. You want to come with us?"
Yeah. So, true story. Do you remember John Drury, don't you, Tom?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is before the Marvel purchase. We were at San Diego Comic-Con, and we were at the Dick's Last Resort, and I don't remember whose card it was, but it was a Marvel card,
right?
And of course, we were there, just we were having a blast, and the Dick's waitresses came around and said, "Are you closing out?" And whoever's card it was said, "Well, you guys want anything else? Get anything you want, anything you want." And John Drury said, "Anything?" He goes, "Anything you want." John said, "I'd like a t-shirt. I want he ordered all this extra stuff." And he's like, "Roland, don't you want a t-shirt? Roland, don't you want a mug?" And I'm sitting there going, "Nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good."
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, what the heck was I thinking? I should have got me a t-shirt. I should have got me a mug. John did.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in abusing it like that. I was only interested in taking people out to dinner.
Right. No, me too.
I'm not a hat or a convention t-shirt sort of guy. So those perks eluded me.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, BJ asked me at Heroes Con, she said, "Do you want a Heroes Con t-shirt?" I said, no, because I'm going to be wearing my Silverline t-shirts anyway when I go places, right? So, no, they're cool, but no, not unless they had a Silverline thing on it. Right. Then I would want it.
Yeah.
All right, so
we went way off topic.
We went way off topic.
We didn't even get back to acknowledge the topic.
Well, I'm not sure. So here's the thing. I'm not sure we can. You guys think we can fill an hour on health tips for sedentary creators?
No, my thing would have been I do 10 plunges every 45 minutes. The end.
10 plunges.
That's what I do.
What's a plunge?
You squat. It's a squat. You just go all as far as you can.
Now,
but supposedly, if you do 10 of those every 45 minutes, it's the equivalent of walking 2 miles.
So are you fairly regimented about that?
Yeah, I've got it on my phone. It goes off every 45 minutes to remind me.
So the idea was, and again, I didn't think we could fill a whole hour with this. So this is probably good that we had this distribution stuff. Martin Piero says Heroes Con t-shirts were $40. So
and that's $40 that wasn't spent on the floor.
That's right. So part of why I thought about this topic is that we have a sedentary job. No matter whether all of comics, whether you're a writer, penciler, inker, colorist, letterer, right? You sit on your butt to do the job. And that means you sit on your butt for hours on end, hours at a time. And, I mean, if you've been in the industry any length of time, there's a fairly good number of unhealthy people I'm not trying to call out any names. I'm not, not trying to point fingers at anybody, because what is the old saying? You point your finger, you got 4 pointing back at you. The thing about it is that it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So how do you try to be healthy as someone who sits on their? I mean, you could say the same thing for an accountant, right? An accountant sits on their butt all day long.
Right.
Mike just says he does 45 plunges.
No, I do 10 squats every 45 minutes.
10 squats every 45 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'd say that, Mike, that bravo to you, man. That's
squats every 10 minutes. You got this, Mike.
Aspire.
So here we go. Tank Ferret says 10 to 20 minutes of cardio calisthenics every 2 to 3 hours. No repetition of exercises in the same day. Oh, that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. Well, no one wants to hear my routine.
What is your routine, Tom?
I get 10,000 steps in the morning and a walk before breakfast.
On a treadmill or in your neighborhood?
Oh, I go out. Well, on a good day, I go around the neighborhood. But otherwise,
what time is morning for you?
What time is morning? I get up at 6 a.m.
Oh my gosh!
So I can't help
What's wrong with you?
I don't set an alarm.
That's all right.
And then I go. I work a little bit. Then I go to the gym. I go to the gym every day, and then I get another 10,000 steps in by the time I've gone to bed. So I've got 20,000 steps a day in.
So what time is bedtime?
Bedtime, because I'm an old man. It's about 10:30.
Wow. Well, Tom, I gotta say, bravo to you, man.
Right?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Then,
now, is this something that you've been doing like for years and years and years, or?
Well, I used to swim every day.
Okay.
So that was my big thing. But then I blew out my rotator cuff, and so this became the alternative. So
what'd you say, Jose?
Doggy paddle.
Here's the thing. I don't mind doing exercise, but I don't want to look silly. So dog paddle looks silly.
It does look silly.
There's no, because I remember when I was a kid seeing people do the dog paddle going, damn, don't let me do that.
Right. Well, I'll just do the breaststroke. It's fine.
Yeah. So once I blew out my rotator cuff, then it was back to this thing.
Wow.
And then the usual stuff: try to limit carbs, try to limit fried foods, try to limit sugar, try to limit salt. All that stuff. I fail at some of that, so I can't. I can't preach to people like you should give them sugar like me. It's like
no preaching here. This is the no preaching zone, right? Because
I'll tell you,
we're all a bunch of fatties. I'm going
to a place next week and I'm going to have donuts, and that's That's true. So I
have no gallbladder, so I can eat all the greasy stuff I want. It just kind of goes through. None of it sticks.
I can tell you. So let's talk about that, because I had my gallbladder taken out, and it turns out that all my gastrointestinal problems disappeared, and my spicy food tolerance went way up, and and pretty much I can eat anything that I want to without any sort of issues. So
wow,
getting your gallbladder out, I highly recommend it.
So it depends, because I'm Hispanic. We eat a fairly amount of Mexican food, but like anywhere I go and eat Mexican food, it's like I know that I'm going to eat it, and I know that it's not going to stay long. Not to get all graphic and whatnot, but like it doesn't stick. It doesn't necessarily stick, right? So what I do if I want something like that to stick and be able to feel filled and whatnot, then I offset it by eating say a lot. I'll add extra cheese to it. I used to add extra cheese anyway, but add extra cheese or something else that's going to absorb some of that grease. Right. Otherwise, it like I said, and then you waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning is crazy to me. I'm not waking up at like 9, maybe at the earliest at 9. But I also don't go to bed till like 3 in the morning.
Right. Yeah. There's the clocks are shifted a little bit.
See what changed is when I had, because I used to keep those kind of hours. Yeah. Then I had kids.
Right.
And then kids completely rewired my sleep cycle.
And it stuck.
It stuck. Yeah, I can't get it back.
That's even more funny because I too have had kids, and the reason for my late hours is because of the kids. Because I couldn't get any work done, and it works really well because my wife wakes up early in the morning, so she would wake up with the kids, you know what I mean, and get them ready for school and stuff like that, and I'd sleep in, but then, I pick them up after school and I'm the one that stays up late. It also means I also do almost all the laundry to make sure everyone has clean clothes in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can do it at night and just set it out, right?
Right.
Just waiting on him. Yeah.
Yep.
Tank Ferret says, I have over 30 years of combat arts, from hand to hand to AT&T.
AT&T?
You would fight the phone company.
Phone company? You bought the phone company?
I don't know that one. Martin Piero says, walking for 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, plus 50 sit-ups and 50 push-ups, is what I think about while I eat Cheetos and drink Coke at my desk.
Hey, we saw that piece of pie that Martin ate from my hero.
Oh my gosh! Holy
good gravy!
Huge piece of pie. And I thought, he's gonna eat like just a little, tip end of it.
Right.
He just kept working, and I'm like, he is gonna finish that thing. And I'll be doggone, he finished that entire piece. But his hands
got some Olympic level pie eating.
Jose, what about you? What kind of health regimen do you have?
I don't. No. So my wife tries to make sure we try to have business meetings, which basically means we go in the pool. We'll sit in the pool, we'll swim around the pool. You know what I mean? And
that's good.
Sometimes chase after the chickens and turkeys. So
pool is supposed to be like some of the very best exercise you can get.
Oh man, I couldn't handle the chickens
and the tastiest really when you're done.
Right. But no, so we have chickens. We're urban people and with chickens, and we also have turkeys. So we have 4 chickens and 4 turkeys.
Are you fattening one up right now for November?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And it's funny because we told our 2 youngest daughters, like 15 and 13, and like, Mom, Dad, why are you guys watching how to slaughter a turkey? Like, on YouTube. And I'm like, because we're going to kill one for Thanksgiving. No, that's our turkey. They're like, do you not understand why we never gave them names?
Yeah, it's like, don't give them names.
Right? Their names are
and start to bully them.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I wish we'll get a couple more to replace it.
There you go. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Man.
They tend to look alike.
They do.
Especially mine, they're white. Like, I didn't know there were white turkeys. I thought they were like you see in Thanksgiving when that brown with the
brown and the white ones are all breast meat.
Yeah, right.
They're all what?
They're all breast meat.
All breast meat. I wish I could say I had a regimen like Tom. I don't.
Right.
I find exercise to be boring, and that's my problem. Is that it just I'm not motivated. But I love to play pickleball. I love to play softball. And so when I can do those, I will try to go out and exercise that. I have been over the last year working out in the gym, lifting weights. Because my doctor said at my age, he said the best thing you can do is lift weights. And so I've been trying to lift weights. I do that only about twice a week.
Better than nothing, though.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel better. I feel stronger and better just twice a week. I don't have a leg day or anything like that. I knock it all out in both of those days.
I'll tell you, I felt a ton better when we were the last 3 weeks in London and Greece.
Because all the walking you did?
Well, not just the walking, but like the food is different. Food doesn't have all the junk that we have here.
Yeah,
I was able to drink a Coke.
We're very conscious about the foods that we eat here as well. We try to stay away from a lot of the processed, which is hard to do in the U.S.
And also,
is very hard.
Also, I mean, Southern food is really rich and heavy and tasty,
right?
And wonderful. And so it's really,
it is.
My wife was raised Mennonite, so everything she makes is from scratch. There is no from a box stuff.
But that's better, though. That's better. Yeah,
dude. Listen. When we first got married, I was 180 pounds. I went 180 pounds to like 220 in like less than like 2-3 months.
But it's also probably healthier for you than eating that stuff out of the box.
Especially now, like She mills her own flour. She doesn't even buy flour at the store anymore. She'll mill her own flour. Like I said, we eat the eggs from the chickens. We try our best to be as self-sustaining as we can.
You're way ahead of me. I would never do any of that stuff.
Trying. We're trying.
Hey,
I wouldn't have even done it if it wasn't for my wife. I'll be honest with you. Like I didn't even want chickens. She's like, oh, I want to get chickens. I'm like, no, it can wait. It can wait.
Did you get what I told you to get? I told you to get some guineas, right?
Yeah, I have not. But
gotta get some guineas.
She's actually said, I think that's something she wants to look into.
I'm telling you.
We even thought about rabbits. Like, oh, I heard rabbit meat's really like high in protein and like very lean meat.
It's stringy though.
It is stringy.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, it's not as good as chicken or turkey.
Right. You're gonna want to crock pot it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then my wife delivered the baby of this family, and the husband is a fisherman. Like he'll go out to the Atlantic and fish all kinds of fish and whatnot. And so we usually get like fresh fish from him that he just flash froze.
Man, that's great.
You've been listening to the Silverline Recipe Hour.
Better living by Silverline.
That's right. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe for more recipes.
Right. Get turkeys. Right. They're dumb, but they're very entertaining. Turkeys are not the brightest bulb in the bunch. I'm just saying.
Well, how do they rank with emus? Because I've known emus, and emus I've always been told are the stupidest of the birds.
I've known emus.
Okay, I don't know any emus, but we have tried.
I've known emus
out, right? And on 2 separate occasions, we've let them out, and then we start to herd them to get them back into their pen, and they will turn before the door and hit the fence, and then look around like and keep hitting the fence. Like I have to grab it. Like, come on, Turk, like you dummy, and put it in the door. Like look, turn to the side. It's right there. I know you got 2 eyes. I know they work.
That's pretty close to emu stupidity.
I will confess I've never known any emus.
No.
You just haven't lived, man.
So, Tank Ferret says like and share.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Tank Ferret.
Nothing is not entertaining.
That's right.
We've covered 3 main topics this time.
We have. Tank Ferret says finding some BS to work the body is easy. The motivation is a bit harder to find after being mostly sedentary for the last 8 years.
Yeah, the motivation.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's extremely hard.
Well, also, I think it's hard for creators to like get out of the house to have to exercise. Like I think Mike has a great idea of doing it in the house. He's found an exercise he can do in the studio.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
And on a time schedule. But for me to go to the gym, I got to get in the car and drive.
Yeah. And if it's raining or up there where you live, if it's snowing, you're like, I might not go today. It's bad weather out, Right.
But that's the freelancer trick. It's the freelancer trick because, that's the thing about it. We sometimes isolate ourselves. And so getting out to see people actually is its own exercise. And it really is good for your health. So, while I may do something here, it would be better for me to get out. I'm going to be honest.
I have a friend that will check in on me because he knows that I'm sitting down working on pages. Yeah. So he'll call me and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm working on pages." Like, "Are you tracing or are you throwing paint?" I was like, first off, I don't like you anymore. Right? Yeah, he does.
What an insult.
I know. He goes, "Well, what are you doing? Have you eaten yet?" I'm like, "No. What time is it?" He's like, "It's like 1:30, 2 o'clock." I'm like, "Oh no, haven't." He's like, "I'm coming to get you. Let's go." And so he'll come pick me up and take me to go grab something to eat or something, or take me somewhere out of the house. But like I've had friends like Joe, you don't come out, you don't do anything. I was like, I don't go anywhere.
Right.
Like I sit home. Like even to get away from the desk, like I'll wake up in the morning, I'll get cleaned up and come out, make myself coffee. And the first thing I see is my my drafting table. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna put some work in. I need to do this. You know what I mean? So and if I'm not even making breakfast, I'm like, it's just like time away from the table. Like I know I need to eat because I'm also diabetic. So I know I have to eat protein or something in the morning. So if I don't, then, I start getting real tweaky at the table. Like I'll start like not shaking or anything like that, but like my attention span gets shorter, right? If that makes any sense.
Well,
but
and the other thing, did you find you get in a zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're working, you kind of
Yeah.
get in a zone and you think, oh, I need to take a break. I'm going to take a break in an hour, and you get in a zone and you look up. It's been 3 hours.
Also, if you're really in a zone, the last thing you want to do is break that.
Right. Yeah.
And get up and do something.
Yeah.
See, and my wife
That's how I
understands
figured
that
out how to
too.
do what I did. Because if the first month I did it by my phone, it's like, oh no, I can put it off to the next hour. I'll put it off to the next hour. And because I could sit here and do it for 3 hours and not even, miss a beat. But I had to legitimately make myself do it. Now it's habit now.
Yeah.
But it was incredibly hard. But even doing that, doing 10 it maybe takes me a minute. I mean, it doesn't. So I'm not really. I mean, I'm getting blood circulation in my legs, which is the reason I'm doing it.
Right.
That's the biggest reason. But again, there's still more I could do. I mean, thank God, even at 52, I still have a really good metabolism. So if I had a worse metabolism, I would have some serious weight issues for not moving like I should. But I've got a walking pad that I walk at night, and but that's about it.
Fix your waistline, make yours Silverline.
There you go.
Javier Lugo leaves us that bit of wisdom. Thanks, Javier. Good to see you, man. Of course, I'm going to throw this in there. But Stonewall Jackson used to ride with the hand up in the air. He ride on a sword, and people said, "What are you doing that?" He goes, "This helps my circulation."
Yeah, but he's riding a horse, and riding a horse is not exercise.
Yeah.
No, it's not. But it would help his circulation, right? Because he was sitting on the horse the whole time.
I think he made that up. No one's following Stonewall Jackson for help.
Tank Fair says, when I'm in a creative groove, it might as well ask me to climb a mountain. But when I get stuck, doing some quick exercises helps me to think on it.
Well, that's the thing too. One of the things I do when I'm walking is I have whatever I'm working on in the back of my head, so I'm not actively thinking about it, but it's there. It's poking around, and whatever walking does to your endorphins or your dopamine or whatever, by the time I get back, I've usually solved a story issue.
Yeah.
So it's good to get away from the desk or the table or the computer every now and then, just to get your brain working again.
Yeah.
I have entryways into both both sides of my kitchen, and like I've done that where I've just taken a walk, like just in the house, like when I was working on obsolete pages, and I got to a particular panel, like that's not looking right. And every time I try to do it on like tracing paper, like to rough it out separately, and I was like, that is not. I gotta get up. I get up, just start walking, doing laps around the kitchen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Change my view a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Javier Lugo says, the way that works for me, I pay food tax. I leave 20% of my food on the plate.
Oh, I could never do that.
I could never do that either. That was beat into my brain when I was a kid.
That's
also I can't leave a piece of pizza.
What's that?
That's like leaving one taco.
Yeah, I'm gonna have that taco.
Yeah. Or I mean, if I'm like leaving food, I'm just not putting it on my plate. Right? I'm gonna get a smaller portion because I can't sit there and leave the food on my plate.
I have a friend that when we go out to dinner, he's the same way as Javier Lugo. He will leave food on his plate as part of the smaller portion theory of it. It's like, dude, you paid like $20 for that.
Right? Yeah.
Like, you should take it to go.
So one of the things that BJ and I do when we go out to eat, right, is we actually half our food, right? So we'll half it and ask for a to-go box. So it's not like that we're wasting it. It's just like, okay, you brought it because if you go out to eat, they're often really big portions. And
yes,
so we're like, all right, well, I just bring me the to-go box now. I'm going to half my food, put half of it in the to-go box, and then I'm going to eat. And that way I will have eaten all of my food, but then I've got meal for tomorrow too.
Yeah.
Right. That's my 2:30 in the morning meal.
Yes, that's right. That's
Martin Piero says, that's why I ate the whole pie. I had to clean the plate.
Yeah. He understands. He was raised in a similar household.
Right.
Yeah.
Did he sneak out of the waitress while he was doing it?
No, she was surprised he ate the whole thing too. She was. Yeah. She was from. She told us. I forget what it was, but she sat and talked to us for a while. And she wasn't from the area originally. I forget where she was from. Martin might remember. Tank Ferret says, leaving the clean plate club and saving some for leftovers is a good step. It will lead to tossing a decent chunk of food, though. That is true. Occasionally, we don't get to the leftovers and we throw them away. But my argument has always been, I'd rather throw them in the trash than throw them on my body. You know.
Well, it depends on what it is.
Yes. Yeah, if it's something that's just then okay, I'm fine with it. But if it's like leftover pizza, or or leftover burrito, or leftover pie, I'm eating that.
Yeah.
Well, see, maybe if it's shrimp, I can't. If I have to throw shrimp away, I'm gonna cry because it's like I love shrimp, and I'm like, no, I let it go to waste.
There's no such thing as leftover pizza in my house. I've got teenagers.
Yeah,
that's right.
On top of that, like I said, Mennonite, my wife will actually make the pizza from scratch too. So
we don't have as much pizza these days.
Now
that my kids are out of the house, we just don't eat as much pizza.
We don't do a lot of, like I said, we don't do a lot of like ordering pizza in. You know, I know
you make
I've had friends, because it tastes better. We can put whatever we want on it. You know what I mean? But going out to eat, like we like to go to steakhouses. You know what I mean? Love to go to steakhouses.
Yeah.
And I'll always do like a steak and like onion rings or something like that. I know they're fried and everything, but steak, onion rings, or sauteed onion rings and whatnot. If I don't eat it all, that's going into my eggs in the morning. Without a doubt, that goes into my eggs.
Food is just a great commodity just in general, because Aiden got on this real big health kick around Christmas. I mean, he was horrible. He was like giving me criticism on what's on my plate. It's like, Dad, you need to cut back on this, you need to cut back that. And I just looked at him. It's like, okay, I don't already eat bacon. I don't eat any processed meats. I don't eat red meat. I allow myself 2 pizzas a month. If I want to put all that chicken and all those mashed potatoes and all those green beans on my plate, I'm going to do it.
You're
not going to restrict what I'm ordering.
Shut up, you whippersnapper.
The thing is, there's certain.
You don't eat red meat?
I don't eat red meat now.
Wow. That's
you not love yourself? Like I love you.
Okay, it used to be an everyday thing for me. I was addicted to red meat. And it was just, I didn't have cholesterol problems, but, I'm a stubborn guy. When it comes to going to the doctor and they start telling me what I need to do, I'll do the exact opposite. So I got to a point where I thought, well, I want to do this myself. So like I said, I cut bacon out, I cut processed meats, I got rid of donuts. And that really hurt. I actually pined for donuts.
Mike got rid of donuts? Well, I just got her. Just kidding, Mike. Just kidding, Mike.
But now every now and then I'll have a hamburger. I will allow myself that, but it's like the 96%, lean. I'll allow myself to do that.
What about bacon? Why did you give up bacon? If you don't mind me asking.
The processed meat, it just was processed. Because everything I would read, there's nothing good about bacon. There's not one good thing other than the taste.
Right. I was gonna say it tastes delicious, first off. But
it's delicious.
We've actually gotten to the habit, my wife will buy beef bacon instead. And I know you said you don't do red meat either, but we actually started doing beef bacon instead of pork bacon.
Huh.
It tastes pretty good.
I would say it probably would. People would say go do turkey bacon. It's like it's processed meat.
It's baloney.
It's crap. It's garbage. I wouldn't want to trade that for that. Who would want to do that to themselves? Yeah. It's like turkey beaters.
Spam.
Yeah. Forget that. So I just exclude some stuff out of my diet, and it's sometimes it takes a lot.
Oh, I'll bet.
I mean, I feel like I eat so much chicken I cluck when I walk, but I do eat pork.
I love chicken.
Yeah, I love chicken. So
it's good if you cut out red meat.
Yeah.
Gray Wolf says, hiya, chat. What's up, Gray Wolf? Thanks for hanging out with us as we're about to close out here. Well, my clock says we have been running for about an hour and a half now, fellas. It was fun chat tonight, though, even though we kind of went all over the place. Anybody got anything? Anybody got anything they want to wrap up tonight with?
No, it's good to have Jose drop in, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Thanks, Jose. We appreciate you swinging by and talking to us. Can't wait to start seeing some of those Vipers number 2 inks.
Let's see.
Well, good night, everybody.
Right?
You working on them now?
I was, yeah.
Are you really? What? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Hold on. Oh my goodness! So cool.
Check it out.
All right. Very.
Yeah.
Is that Angelo?
Yep.
Yeah. Look at this Tank Ferret.
Fun penciler.
Tank Ferret says, like, share, and stay magnificent.
Magnificent.
Thank
that
you.
kid is good. He's going to be a star. Angelo's going to be a star.
Yeah.
Yo, I think so too. I think so too. You know, and it's like we talked before, and I don't think I would upset Angelo to hear this. As he just needs pages, right? He just needs some pages. Oh man, that looks great.
That's excellent.
That's fantastic, Jose.
Yeah, because it's the thing is, you got to, whatever. I think Malcolm Gladwell said, you have to put in the 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours. That's right.
And that's the key to anything. Because the first thing you do is always going to suck, and then you're just going to get better and better.
Yeah. You're just gonna keep getting better and keep getting better.
And I think because Ray Bradbury said, write 100 short stories because they won't all suck.
That's right.
And that's
yeah. Well, that's a whole nother topic for another time.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, if you guys got nothing else in, on Tuesday, you can join Jose and Tim and David and Ron as they talk about, so you bought your first comic. What brought you to making comics? Nostalgia, current trends, investment, etc. What did it invoke in you? How did it lead to wanting to be a creator?
Ooh,
that is on. That is on two. Yeah. What? No, you mistook this for being a rock star.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all the women.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. All the alcohol, all the fancy meals.
That was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the Wednesday Whammers say, let's write a comic. The panel, which I guess is the Whammers, and the audience work together to create a new story to be showcased on a future episode.
Ooh,
that is on Wednesday.
I've done that with them. That's a lot of fun, especially
I've watched it. I watched a couple.
Cool.
They did like a couple of them where they did that and like the art process and everything. I was watching them. It's great.
One of my favorite topics here. I've been anxious to talk about this one. Page numbers on comics. Where did they go? Back in the day, comics always had page numbers, whether it was in a single story in the issue or multiple stories with the page numbering starting over with each new story. But they seem to have disappeared from modern comics. What happened and who killed the page numbers?
If they're on the comic Mike Belcher letters, they've got page numbers.
Like on the printed page?
Probably the same place where thought balloons went to.
Probably, yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about next week, which should be a lot of fun. You guys, if you want to bring samples or send me samples, and I'll we'll pop them up. I hadn't thought about that. We might not need them, but we can certainly talk about it. Don't forget, jump on over to www.silverlinecomicscrowdfunder.com or go on over to Fund My Comic and look for the rejects so that you can get in on I just knocked stuff off on this beauty right here. Get yourself the foil version. Remember, the only way you can get this foil version for this comic is to back the crowdfunder. And we need your help. We need somebody. Oh, I love that. We need some eyeball backers. We need some shares. Let me find my buttons here. And until next time, there's a bug on my screen. Until next time, remember to make mine Silverline. Good night, everybody.
Hi, I'm Dave Dorman. Make mine Silverline.